I didn't plan to be standing outside Marlo's on a Friday night, holding a small white envelope with our anniversary card inside, sweating through my blouse like some abandoned extra in my own life. I'd spent the whole week imagining Harrison's face when he saw the reservation I scored. Marlo's had a 3-month wait list, but a client canceled last minute, and the manager owed me a favor from a marketing project I helped with. 12 years married. I thought surprising him would feel romantic. Instead, I got blindsided. The restaurant's glass front reflected the warm golden lights inside, the clatter of plates, and the low hum of conversations. People drifted out, clutching leftovers and smiling like life was easy. I stood there rehearsing a playful line about being spontaneous when the door swung open, and the universe punched me straight in the chest. Harrison walked out, with Janelle, my best friend, my ride or die for a decade, the woman who held Ari when she was born, the same woman who cried on my couch after her last breakup, saying she envied what Harrison and I had. She was wearing the navy dress she said she bought for an interview. Harrison's hand was on the small of her back, like it belonged there. Her head was tipped toward him, laughing in a soft, private way I hadn't heard from him since. I don't even know when. I froze. It felt like watching a movie of my life, except no one warned me it was a horror film. They didn't see me at first. They were too busy being close, too comfortable, too intimate. Janelle's fingers lingered on his tie, my anniversary gift from last year. That stupid striped tie he said he'd never wear unless it was a special occasion. I guess dinner with my best friend counted. I stepped forward before my brain even formed a plan, and the movement caught Harrison's eye. His face drained instantly, like he'd been unplugged. Janelle turned next, her smile collapsing into terror so fast it almost looked rehearsed. "Oh, Sabrina? What are you doing here?" Harrison's voice cracked, high and nervous. Not guilty. Afraid. A couple seated on the outdoor patio had already noticed the tension. One of them nudged the other, whispering something. I recognized the look. People love live drama more than Netflix. I held up the envelope. I was surprising my husband. Anniversary dinner. Janelle flinched. Harrison swallowed hard, stepping away from her like distance could erase the scene. "This isn't... Sabrina, it's not what you're thinking." His words tripped over themselves. "Oh?" I tilted my head. "Then tell me. What am I thinking?" He looked around quickly, scanning for witnesses. Too late. 2 women at a nearby table were full-on watching us, sipping wine like we were the evening entertainment. One had her phone held low, angled in a way that absolutely meant she was recording. Janelle tried to speak. "Sab, listen. I can explain." "Stop." My voice surprised even me. Sharp, controlled, too calm to be confused with weakness. Harrison raised both hands awkwardly. "We were just, talking about something private. Work stuff. That's all." "Work stuff?" I repeated. "That's your story?" He blinked like a deer who realized the headlights weren't slowing down. Janelle stepped toward me, reaching out. "It wasn't planned. We ran into each other and—" "Ran into each other?" I cut her off. "You wore a dress. He wore cologne I haven't smelled on him in months. You two look like you've been planning this for weeks." Janelle's lips trembled. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then Harrison did the worst possible thing. He laughed. Nervous. Hollow. "Come on, Sabrina. Don't make a scene." The couple recording raised their eyebrows, as if mentally adding that line to their highlight reel. "Don't make a scene," I repeated softly. "You're on a date with my best friend, and you're worried about me embarrassing you?" Janelle shut her eyes. Harrison ran a hand through his perfect gelled hair, another sign I should have questioned earlier. He only fixed his hair like that for things that mattered. "You're overreacting," he said. "We're just talking. You're reading into this." My heart wasn't breaking. It was hardening, fast, solid, cold. I stepped closer, so close he had no choice but to look me directly in the eyes. "If this is innocent," I said, "kiss me." His pupils shrank. His jaw clenched. Even Janelle whispered, "Harrison." The crowd held its breath. A waiter who'd been stacking chairs stopped mid-stack. I stared at him. "Kiss me," I repeated. "Prove I'm wrong." He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. And that was all the proof I needed. A silence spread over the patio like a dropped curtain. People weren't whispering anymore. They were just watching, witnessing, soaking in the car crash they never expected but suddenly couldn't look away from. I stepped back from him and looked at Janelle. "You could have had any man," I said quietly. "But you chose my husband. And you chose to lie to my face." Her eyes filled. "Sabrina, I'm sorry." "No," I said. "You're sorry you got caught." For a moment, I considered slapping Harrison, like the movies always show. But pain wasn't what I wanted. Clarity was. So instead, I straightened my shoulders, held the envelope between two fingers, and dropped it at his feet. 12 years, I said. "And this is how you repay loyalty." He bent to grab the envelope, but I stepped back. I didn't owe him a thing. Not explanations, not tears, not grief. "Don't come home tonight," I said. "In fact, don't come home at all." Janelle gasped. Harrison stared at me like someone had just pulled the ground out from under him. Then I turned, walked past the cameras, past the gawking strangers, past the patio tables and warm lights, out into the night air that suddenly felt like mine again. I didn't cry. Not one tear. Instead, with every step, one thought pulsed through my mind. You betrayed me in public. Now I'll destroy you in daylight. And I meant every word. When people ask how long Harrison and I were good, I never know how to answer. We met at 23, both broke, both ambitious, both pretending adulthood wasn't suffocating us. He worked the front desk at a gym. I was building my marketing portfolio by taking any freelance job I could get. We bonded over cheap coffee and the fact that neither of us came from money. Back then, everything felt like teamwork. Two underdogs trying to outrun our childhoods. When Ari was born, things shifted. Not bad, not yet. Just heavier. I took a step back from climbing the corporate ladder so Harrison could take night classes and move into sales at the dealership. I told myself it was temporary, that once he got established, I'd go back to chasing the future I wanted. And for a while, I believed it. I was the one who handled the finances. I made spreadsheets, goals, savings plans. I'm the one who opened a high-yield emergency account when Ari turned 3. Harrison didn't even ask what was in it. He trusted me, and I trusted him. That account would become a weapon years later, but at the time, it felt like security. My mother passed when I was 28, leaving me her tiny rental property. Nothing glamorous, but meaningful. Harrison promised he'd renovate it one day, a project he was excited about. "It'll be our thing," he said. Except it never happened. It just sat there, gathering dust and leaking opportunity. The signs were there. God, they were so obvious now that I replay them. Harrison upgraded his wardrobe practically overnight. "Dealer expectation," he claimed. Janelle started canceling girls' nights, though she was always posting photos of cocktails with coworkers. Harrison suddenly guarded his phone, taking calls on the balcony instead of next to me on the couch. I asked, gently at first, then more directly. He brushed me off with a kiss to the forehead, calling me paranoid. But the real shift happened last fall. We were sitting at Ari's school recital, and Janelle slid into the seat beside Harrison instead of me. He laughed at something she whispered, and for a split second, I saw it. Comfort. Familiarity. A connection that didn't belong to them. When I asked her about it later, she smiled too casually. "You're overthinking. He's basically like a brother to me." I swallowed it. I wanted to believe her. Janelle was the friend who helped raise Ari when I worked late. The one who took pictures at every birthday party. The one who brought wine and ice cream when I had my first panic attack postpartum. Losing her felt impossible. So I told myself I was being insecure, hormonal, stressed, anything but right. After the scene at Marlo's, I drove straight to my sister Rena's place. I didn't even breathe before blurting everything out. She listened, stone-faced, jaw tightening with every detail. When I finished, she didn't hug me. She didn't gasp. She didn't ask if I was sure. She simply said, "Sabrina, I didn't know how to tell you, but someone saw them together 2 weeks ago at Oak Ridge Plaza, holding hands." The room tilted. My stomach dropped. Hearing suspicion become truth is a violence of its own. "They looked like a couple," she added softly. "Not like friends." That's when the stakes became real. Not emotional, not theoretical. Tangible. My marriage wasn't cracking. It was gone. My best friend wasn't confused. She was invested. And the life I'd built for 12 years, the finances, the property, the family routines, was now a battlefield. I took a long breath, wiped my face, and whispered, "Okay, then I'm done pretending." Because if they could betray me in secret, I could dismantle everything in daylight. I woke up the next morning with a kind of clarity that didn't feel like strength. It felt like adrenaline wrapped in purpose. I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. My hands were steady, almost too steady, as I stood in my bedroom and looked around at the life I had spent 12 years curating. A life Harrison thought I wouldn't dare disrupt. He had no idea who he married. I grabbed a suitcase and started packing. Not dramatically, not recklessly, just the essentials. Clothes for Ari and me, our documents, my laptop, chargers, medications, the jewelry my mother left me. I moved with quiet efficiency, the way I always handled every crisis life threw at me. Only this time, I wasn't cleaning up a mess. I was preparing for war. Before leaving, I sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and logged into our online banking. Step 1. Freeze the emergency savings account. 70% was legally mine. Inheritance-based contributions, my deposits, my management. Harrison had never bothered to understand that account because he assumed I always would. Step 2. Remove him from the joint credit card. 1 click. Access revoked. Step 3. Pause all auto drafts tied to our shared checking. If Harrison wanted to keep up his spotless image, he could pay the bills manually. As I worked, the house stayed unnervingly quiet. Harrison must have stayed at a hotel. Or at Janelle's. The thought should have shattered me. Instead, it fueled me. When I finished with the accounts, I called a name I'd been given years ago by a coworker going through a messy divorce. "Marisol Vega," I said, voice steady. "I need a consultation. Today, if possible." Her assistant booked me in for early afternoon. Next, I emailed a local appraisal company and requested an urgent evaluation of my mother's property. I'd let that place sit for too long out of nostalgia. Now it needed to become an asset, not a memory. Then came evidence gathering. I walked through the house collecting every bank statement, every random receipt, every little inconsistency Harrison had brushed off. His new cologne, $139. The expensive dinner charge 2 weekends ago he claimed was team bonding. The hotel transaction from last month that he said was a mistake by the vendor. I took photos, screenshots, copied everything into a locked folder. Not because I needed revenge, because I needed leverage. By the time Harrison walked through the door at noon, I already had half my life organized into a game plan. He looked furious, confused, offended, like he was the victim. "Why are my cards getting declined?" he demanded. "What the hell is going on, Sabrina?" I didn't answer. I walked past him, suitcase in hand. Ari's backpack slung over my shoulder. "Where are you going?" he yelled, following me down the hallway. "We should talk about what happened last night. You're blowing this out of proportion." I turned slowly. For the first time in years, he looked small to me, shrinking under the weight of what he'd created. "I'm not blowing anything out of proportion," I said calmly. "I'm finally responding." His face twisted. "You can't just freeze accounts. You can't just take Ari and walk out." "I already have," I said. "And the accounts? They're mine to freeze." He blinked. Twice. This was the first real crack in his composure, and watching it spread across his expression felt like reclaiming oxygen. "I'm staying with Rena for a few days," I said, brushing past him. "Ari will be with me. My lawyer will reach out by Monday." Lawyer? His voice broke around the word. You're getting a damn lawyer? I didn't even look back. You should have thought about that before dinner last night. I stepped outside, sunlight hitting my face like a blessing. Harrison stood in the doorway, speechless for the first time since I'd known him. And in that moment, I understood something clearly. He was still processing the betrayal. I was already executing the consequences. Harrison didn't understand the difference between shock and consequences. Shock is what I felt outside Marlo's. Consequences are what he started realizing the moment the world stopped bending for him. The first ripple hit him the next morning. While I was at Rena's kitchen table emailing Marisol's paralegal more documentation, Harrison called 5 times in a row. I didn't answer. On the 6th call, he texted, "The bank is saying I don't have access. Fix this." Not, "Please," not, "Can we talk?" Just entitlement dressed as panic. A moment later, he sent another. "They're expecting me at the dealership retreat. I need those funds." I put my phone face down. Not my circus anymore. At the dealership, things got worse for him. I didn't have to witness it to know. His coworkers began posting Instagram stories from the event, and Harrison wasn't in a single one. A guy named Trent, whom Harrison always bragged about impressing, uploaded a group picture with the caption, "Team Weekend. Some people too busy for responsibility." Ouch. The second ripple hit Janelle. Her boyfriend, technically ex-boyfriend now, showed up at her job and caused a scene so loud the receptionist posted a vague, "Some people really need therapy" tweet. Apparently, his iPad synced her messages from months back. Screenshots, photos, plans with Harrison, lies she'd told me. He sent me a DM with a single line. "You deserved better. Sorry I stayed quiet." The third ripple hit our social circle. Group chats that used to buzz with weekend plans went dead silent. Not for me. People texted me privately, one by one, carefully probing. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" I heard something. Don't know if it's true. But no one texted Harrison. He always thought he was the one everyone respected. Turns out they were just polite. At Rena's, Ari sensed the shift. Kids always do. She sat beside me at breakfast, her little hands wrapped around her cereal bowl. "Mom," she whispered, "why are we here?" My throat tightened, but I refused to lie. Daddy made a choice that hurt us. So we're staying with Aunt Rena for a few days while I fix things. She stared at me with those big almond-shaped eyes that never missed a thing. "Did he hurt you?" Emotion punched through my chest. "Not in the way you're thinking, baby, but he did something that wasn't okay. And I'm protecting us." Ari nodded slowly, like she understood more than she should at 10 years old. That was the moment everything solidified. This wasn't just about me. This was about showing her what a woman does when betrayal tries to swallow her whole. Around noon, I stepped outside to take a call from Marisol. She updated me on paperwork, timelines, and the first steps of the divorce petition. Her voice was sharp and confident, a lifeline in human form. When I returned inside, Rena raised an eyebrow. "You ready for the next wave?" "What wave?" I asked. She smirked. "The one banging on my front door." Before I could respond, 3 loud knocks echoed through the house. Then Harrison's voice, urgent, desperate, familiar in a way that made my stomach harden. "Sabrina, open the door. We need to talk." Ari jumped. Rena immediately ushered her down the hall. I stayed still, breathing evenly. Harrison kept pounding, each hit sounding less demanding and more unhinged. "Sabrina, please, just open the damn door. We can fix this." I walked toward the door, but not to open it, just to stand on the other side and let him hear the calm in my voice. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "My lawyer will contact you. Do not come here again." He hit the door once more, then silence. Heavy, defeated silence. Ripples weren't ripples anymore. They were waves, and Harrison was just starting to drown. Harrison texted again 2 days later, this time pretending to be composed. "Let's talk. Public place. Neutral." I agreed. Not for him, but for documentation, for clarity, for closure on my terms. We met at Ridgeview Lounge, a trendy spot with tall windows, dim pendant lights, and a reputation for eavesdropping patrons who loved a scandal. Perfect. When I walked in, Harrison was already seated at a two-top near the center. He stood the moment he saw me, smoothing his shirt like he thought appearances still mattered. His eyes were hollow, bruised from lack of sleep. "Sabrina," he said, trying to soften his tone. "Thank you for coming. Can we start by—" "I'm not here to start anything," I cut in, sliding into my seat. "Just say what you need to say." He swallowed hard. "Look, Friday night was messy. We both overreacted. Things got blown out of proportion, and I think if you'd calm down, you'd see—" "Blown out of proportion?" I repeated. "You left a restaurant with my best friend." Several nearby tables went quiet. Ridgeview Lounge had background music for ambiance, but somehow the air thinned enough for everyone to hear. Harrison lowered his voice. "I was supporting her. She's been overwhelmed. Things with her boyfriend, work stress. So you comforted her with cologne and a dress code?" I asked. He flinched. It wasn't like that. Before he could spin another lie, a waitress dropped off a pair of waters, lingering just a second too long. She recognized us. Of course she did. The clip from Marlo's had already been circulating online. Someone tagged the restaurant, and now strangers were dissecting my marriage like it was an open case file. I placed a folder on the table. Calmly, deliberately. "What's that?" he asked. "Evidence," I said. He swallowed again. "Sabrina, you don't need to do this." I ignored him and pushed the folder toward him. He hesitated but opened it. The first page was a printed screenshot of messages between him and Janelle, sent to me by her ex-boyfriend. Plans, reservations, jokes about inside things that clearly weren't new. Harrison's fingers tightened on the paper. "Where did you get these?" "Does it matter?" I asked. "They're real." He flipped to the next page. Bank statements showing transfers to Janelle. His face drained further. "This isn't what it looks—" he started. "Don't finish that sentence," I said sharply. "Because if you lie to me one more time in public, I might stop being polite." A man 2 tables over choked on his drink, trying not to react. Harrison's composure cracked. "Fine," he whispered. We had a moment. It happened once. We regretted it." A laugh escaped me, not amused, just stunned by how pathetic the lie sounded. You don't plan weekly dinners with someone you had a moment with. That's when the universe decided to spice the scene up. Janelle walked in, hair curled, makeup flawless, the kind of I need control appearance people choose after a breakdown. Her eyes widened when she saw us. Harrison's face collapsed. She approached slowly, as if hoping hesitation would soften the impact. "Harrison," she whispered. "You said to meet—" "I didn't," he hissed. "I didn't tell you to come here." Her eyes darted to me. I just wanted to explain things." I stood, not angrily. "Just done." "Explain? You think there's an explanation that makes this better?" She shook her head rapidly, eyes welling. "I never meant to hurt you, Sab." My smile was small but lethal. "You didn't just hurt me, Janelle. You humiliated yourself." A woman at the bar let out a low, "Damn." Harrison tried to stand, reaching for my arm. "Sabrina, please." I stepped back, raising my voice just enough. "You didn't cheat on your wife with her best friend." I paused. Let it land. "You cheated on your future with someone who can't even keep her own life together." A ripple passed through the lounge. Audible reactions, whispers, a phone recording lifted discreetly. Janelle's face crumpled. She turned and practically sprinted out the door. Harrison sank into his chair, his entire body deflating. "You didn't have to say that," he mumbled. "Yes," I said, gathering my things. "I did. Because truth isn't cruel. It's clean." I leaned down just enough for him to hear me clearly. "This is the last time I meet you in public without legal counsel present. Expect paperwork." Then I walked out of Ridgeview Lounge with every pair of eyes following me. Not out of pity, but out of respect. Behind me, Harrison remained frozen, humiliated, and completely alone. Exactly where he put himself. I thought Harrison would lay low after Ridgeview Lounge. Maybe stay quiet, lick his wounds, strategize like a sane adult. But humiliation does strange things to men who've built their entire identity on looking untouchable. He went on the offensive. It started with a Facebook post. Long, rambling, self-pitying. The kind of thing middle-aged uncles write during custody disputes. He blocked me before posting, but people sent screenshots within minutes. My wife is unstable and spreading lies about me. She's being manipulated by people who don't want to see our marriage succeed. Unstable. Manipulated. Lies. He even threw in a Bible verse at the end, which was almost comedic considering his extracurricular activities. Then he added, "I've always been loyal. I've always prioritized my family. I hope people don't believe rumors." Rumors. As if the entire internet hadn't already dissected the folder I slid across that table. I didn't respond. Not publicly, not privately. Silence is louder than any rebuttal. And apparently that silence was gasoline. By afternoon, Karma arrived wearing wireless earbuds and holding a ring light. A TikTok creator named the Neighborhood Oracle, a woman known for spilling local drama with CIA-level accuracy, posted a video titled, "If Your Man Looks Like This and Eats at Ridgeview Lounge, Girl. Run." It was a stitched video, starting with the shaky patio clip from Marlo's, then the viral moment from Ridgeview where I delivered the line about cheating on his future. Someone at the restaurant had caught the entire exchange, angled perfectly. The video blew up within hours. Comments flooded in. He really thought he ate with that unstable post. The math isn't mathing for Harrison. Sis delivered that line like a closing argument. Not the best friend. The audacity is generational. And then the hashtag appeared. Justice for Sabrina. I didn't create it. I didn't encourage it. But once it existed, it spread like wildfire. Instagram picked it up next. Someone leaked Janelle's text messages arguing with her boyfriend. The ones where she admitted meeting Harrison wasn't a mistake, and complained that keeping things secret was stressing her out. Another screenshot revealed a message from her saying, "Sabrina will never know. She trusts me too much." That one burned. Naturally, the internet tore them apart. Janelle shut down her socials by the end of the night. Harrison kept his up. Big mistake. Every post he'd ever made was flooded with clown emojis, red flag hashtags, and comments analyzing his hairline, fashion choices, and moral compass. Then the dealership chimed in. Well, indirectly. A customer tweeted that she'd had an appointment with Harrison, but management canceled last minute and reassigned her to someone else. Another user claimed they overheard employees joking that Harrison's PR department is a fire extinguisher. Screenshots circulated. Memes followed. Edits appeared with dramatic music. My favorite was a photo of Harrison with the caption, "When you cheat and lie and blame your wife but forget the internet has a PhD in investigations." Still, I stayed quiet. Not a single post, not a single comment. One evening, while Ari was coloring beside me, Rena sat across the kitchen table scrolling through updates. "You know," she said, "you're trending on and off for 12 hours. I shrugged. "I never wanted attention. That's why they trust you. You're not playing the game." And she was right. Harrison had tried to twist the narrative by shouting into the void. I won by letting the truth speak for itself. But the biggest blow landed 3 days later. A local news Facebook page posted an article titled, "Infidelity Scandal at Eastgate Motors. Manager under scrutiny after viral video." It wasn't an official investigation, but the dealership hated anything that made them look messy. The article included quotes from anonymous employees condemning unprofessional conduct, plus a screenshot of Harrison's ridiculous Facebook rant. By the time he realized what was happening, the PR war was already over. He wasn't winning hearts. He wasn't controlling the story. He wasn't even in the conversation anymore. People were just laughing at him. At 8:47 p.m., My phone vibrated. Not a call, a text. One word. Please. Not anger, not manipulation, not excuses. Just please, like a man drowning who finally realized he couldn't swim. I set my phone down and exhaled slowly. The truth wasn't just out, it was viral, and Harrison had nowhere left to hide. The day Marisol filed the divorce petition, I felt something inside me settle. Not peace exactly, but structure. A blueprint. While Harrison scrambled online trying to salvage public sympathy, I was doing something far more dangerous. I was removing every piece of scaffolding that held up his life. The first blow landed early Monday morning. His phone lit up with a notification from the bank. New activity on your account may require review. What that really meant was, all discretionary spending flagged, joint credit application rejected, access requiring authorization, my authorization. The dealership expected him to put down a deposit for the upcoming summer sales conference. He couldn't. The card declined. The secondary account failed, and the regional director had zero patience for personal issues. While he was at work drowning in embarrassment, I met with Marisol in her office, sleek, glass-walled, and intimidating in a comforting way. She had already organized the evidence folder I gave her into 3 categories. 1. Financial misconduct. 2. Marital misconduct. 3. Reputation risk. She flipped through the paperwork, tapping her pen thoughtfully. We're going for full custody, child support, spousal support, and a significant division of assets. Based on the evidence, the judge will lean heavily in your favor. I nodded. Calm, prepared. No hesitation. Marisol added, and since he used marital funds to support the affair, we can argue wasteful dissipation. Translation. Every dollar he spent on Janelle would now count against him legally. Meanwhile, the appraisal for my mother's property came back higher than expected. I immediately listed it for rent, and within 2 days, I had 3 applicants. That income stream gave me even more leverage. Then came the discovery phase. Marisol's team subpoenaed Harrison's financial records, text logs, and bank activity. When he received the notice, he blew up my phone again. What are you doing? This isn't fair. You're turning our life into a court case. I didn't bother responding. He had already turned our life into an affair. But the real implosion happened when the subpoenas reached the Whitlock family, Harrison's side. His father, Gerald Whitlock, a wealthy, old-school businessman who valued reputation more than emotional connection, Gerald requested a family discussion, which was code for, "You embarrassed us publicly. Fix it." Harrison showed up to that meeting thinking his father would defend him. Instead, Gerald stood at the head of his marble dining table, slapped the printed TikTok article down, and said, "Do you understand what you've done to this family name?" According to Rena, whose friend's sister's boyfriend works for the Whitlocks, the conversation escalated quickly. Gerald berated him for poor judgment, lack of discipline, and disgracing the dealership network. Harrison tried to spin it, claimed I was emotional and overreacting. Gerald reportedly cut him off with, "Your wife handled this with more dignity than you." Ouch. His brother, Caleb, usually his biggest ally, refused to take his side. Caleb had built a spotless reputation in finance and couldn't risk association with viral scandal. "You dragged the rest of us into this," he told Harrison. "Fix it alone." In one afternoon, the support system Harrison assumed he'd always have fractured completely. Meanwhile, Janelle's world was collapsing too. Her workplace had quietly launched a review after her ex-boyfriend reported the affair as harassment risk due to involvement with a customer's family. HR interviewed her, then suspended her pending investigation. Within days, she was terminated. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't need to. Actions simply returned to their owners. Back on my end, Marisol filed for temporary custody. Harrison tried to fight it, but the judge saw the evidence, saw the viral clips, saw the public meltdown, and granted me full temporary custody with supervised visitation until the case settled. When Harrison received the court order, He drove to Rena's house unannounced again. This time, I had the security camera on and Rena ready to call the police. He stood on the porch, rain soaking through his hoodie, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. "Sabrina, please," he said through the door. "You're taking everything." I stayed behind the locked door. "I'm taking back what's mine. You're losing only what you forfeited." His forehead pressed against the wood. His voice cracked. "I have nowhere to go." That wasn't true, but it felt symbolic. He didn't have a home, not emotionally, not legally, not financially. By the end of the month, he was living in a tiny studio outside the city, making minimum commission at the dealership, without family support, without his mistress, without access to the money he once bragged about controlling. Every pillar of his life had collapsed, everyone he built on lies. And I wasn't done. I didn't expect our final meeting to happen in a courthouse hallway. I'd imagined a dozen versions. A quiet coffee shop, a lawyer's office, maybe even another accidental run-in somewhere public. But life has a way of choosing poetic settings for poetic endings. It was the day of our pretrial conference, custody details, division of assets, the last round of negotiations before the official divorce hearing. I wore a simple charcoal dress, my hair back, my expression sharp enough to cut glass. Marisol walked beside me, radiating calm authority. Harrison was already there. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His once carefully groomed hair was messy, his jaw covered in uneven stubble. His clothes hung off him like they belonged to a different man, a more confident, more intact version of him. When he saw me enter, he straightened abruptly, as if muscle memory kicked in before dignity could. "Sabrina," he breathed. His voice, it was soft, not apologetic, just hollow. "We should talk," he said, stepping forward. Marisol placed a hand lightly on my arm, silently asking if I wanted her present. I nodded to her. She stepped back but didn't go far. "I'm fine," I told her quietly. "Give me a minute." She nodded once and walked a few steps away, far enough to give space but close enough to intervene if needed. Harrison let out a breath he'd been holding. "Thank you." I didn't respond. He studied my face as if searching for the woman he used to manipulate with a single sigh or half-hearted apology. She wasn't there, not anymore. "I need you to hear me," he said. "Just hear me." I crossed my arms. "Go ahead." He swallowed hard. "I messed up. I know that. And everything that's happened, it's been hell. I've lost everything. My job, my family, my friends. The dealership barely talks to me. My dad won't answer my calls. Caleb blocked me on everything. That's not my doing," I said. "That's the truth finally catching up to you." He flinched but continued. "I know, and I'm not blaming you. I'm telling you what it's been like." "I know what it's been like," I replied. "I lived the beginning of it." He rubbed his forehead. "I thought I could fix things with you. I thought maybe if I apologized, if I explained what I was going through." "What you were going through," I repeated, eyebrows lifting. "Harrison, you weren't going through anything. You were choosing things." He looked away, ashamed. For a moment, the hallway was silent. Just the echo of footsteps from distant offices and the hum of fluorescent lights. Then he tried again. "Sab, I miss you," he whispered. "I miss our life. I miss the way things were before everything fell apart. I miss being someone you could look at without hate." "I don't hate you," I said. The answer surprised him. His eyes softened. "You don't?" "No," I said. "Hate takes energy. You don't get that from me anymore." He blinked, his throat tightening. "I'm begging you," he said. "Can we start over? Can we just try again?" I stared at him. Really looked at him. The man I built a home with, had a daughter with, sacrificed for, waited for, trusted blindly. The man who threw it all away for someone who used my secrets as stepping stones. "No," I said simply. His breath shuddered out. "Give me one reason. One. You don't deserve the life I built," I replied. And I'm not rebuilding it for you again. He stepped closer, desperation rising. I can change. I swear. I'll go to therapy. I'll fix everything you want me to fix. Stop, I said firmly. He froze. I uncrossed my arms and let my hands fall to my sides. This isn't about you promising to become the man you pretended to be. It's about the damage you left behind. You didn't just betray our marriage. You betrayed the version of me who believed in you. His eyes filled. I know, he whispered, and I hate myself for it. I shook my head. No, you hate the consequences, not the actions. He swallowed hard, the truth landing like a blow. He reached out slowly, as if touching me could bring back the past. I stepped back immediately. His hand dropped. I'm sorry, he said again, voice cracking. I'm so sorry for all of it. Good, I said softly. Now live with it. For a long moment he just stood there, broken in a way I had once feared seeing. A version of him I used to imagine whenever I fantasized about leaving. But now that he was here, shattered and pleading, I didn't feel vindicated. I felt free. He tried one last time. Sabrina, I love you. I always did. I exhaled slowly. No, Harrison. You loved the comfort I gave you. You loved the stability I built. You loved the image I helped maintain. But you never loved me enough to choose me. His face crumpled. Please don't walk away. I already did. He shook his head, stepping toward me. I can't lose you. I met his eyes, unwavering. You didn't lose me. His brows lifted slightly, hope sparking, foolish and fragile. Then I delivered the line he would never recover from. You gave me away the moment you chose someone else. He stopped breathing. Then, finally, I ended it. You didn't break our marriage, Harrison. You broke the version of me that tolerated you. I turned, walked back toward Marisol, and didn't look back. Behind me, the man who once thought he controlled everything stood alone in the courthouse hallway, small, defeated, and completely irrelevant. Exactly as he made himself. 14 months later, I woke up in a home that felt entirely mine. No ghosts in the corners, no tension lingering in the walls, no air waiting to collapse under an argument. Just sunlight filtering through soft curtains, and Ari humming a song in the kitchen while making her usual Saturday pancakes. Extra blueberries, because she says they make the morning brighter. I padded down the hallway with my coffee, watching her flip pancakes with a confidence she didn't have a year ago. That was the first transformation I noticed. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of tiptoeing around moods, not of overhearing arguments, not of wanting too much. Kids grow when the air around them stops shrinking. I grew too. The rental property became my steady second income stream. After hiring a contractor and finally fixing the roof Harrison always promised he'd get to eventually, it turned into one of the best decisions I ever made. I learned to negotiate leases, manage tenants, budget renovations, and treat it like the business it should have always been. At work, I moved from project manager to senior project manager. Then 2 months later, my boss handed me a new title, Head of Campaign Strategy. The promotion wasn't a surprise. I'd been killing myself trying to prove something during my marriage. Turns out, once I stopped dragging dead weight, my mind had room for brilliance again. I also started taking on freelance consulting clients on weekends, small businesses needing marketing guidance. It wasn't about money. It was about momentum. About knowing that if everything fell apart tomorrow, I could rebuild without asking anyone for permission. My circle changed too. Some people drifted away naturally, unsure how to act around a woman who refused to play small anymore. Others stepped closer, women who respected boundaries, friendships built on honesty instead of convenience. Even Rena said more than once, "You're softer now, in a stronger way." As for love, I didn't rush. There was someone, Elias, a graphic designer I met at a networking event. But what we had was slow, respectful, steady. No grand entrances, no fireworks, no love bomb disguised as devotion. Just real connection. One that didn't demand pieces of me I couldn't afford to give. Ari liked him. That mattered most. And Harrison? He existed somewhere out there. A fading echo I no longer had to turn toward. The last update I received about him came from a mutual acquaintance who messaged me out of the blue. Harrison's working part-time shifts at Westline Auto. Looks rough. Keeps to himself. I didn't ask for details. I didn't block the message either. I just let it sit there. A quiet reminder of how someone can fall so far while you rise so steadily. The finalization of the divorce, months ago, felt less like an ending and more like being handed my own name back. The judge granted full custody, with visitation under specific terms Harrison rarely used. Not because I blocked him, but because consistency requires integrity, and he struggled with both. I didn't hate him. That was the biggest transformation of all. Hate would have tied me to him forever. I chose something better. I chose indifference. One afternoon, while cleaning out a drawer, I found the small white envelope I had dropped at his feet outside Marlo's. I kept it, not for sentiment, but for closure. Inside was the card I'd written before everything exploded. To us, to the life we're building, to the trust we never let go of. I didn't feel pain reading it. I felt distance. A woman who wrote those words lived a lifetime ago. A version of me who believed the foundation beneath her was solid. She wasn't stupid. She wasn't naive. She just didn't know yet that sometimes you have to lose the wrong person to meet the right version of yourself. That evening, after Ari fell asleep, I sat on the balcony with my journal and wrote the final line of the story I had been afraid to close. Freedom didn't come from leaving him. Freedom came from choosing me. And for the first time in years, the air around me didn't feel borrowed. It felt earned.